Hey, what's up everybody? This is Keegan here, and welcome back to the channel, and I'm back with another video for you guys. And I kind of want to make this intro pretty quick, but welcome to another video, you guys. And today's video, I'm bringing you guys an updated look on my Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray collection for 2022. This is my third year doing a video where I show off all my Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays that I own. And a lot has changed in my collection since I did my last video last year when I showed off my Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays. And believe it or not, last year that video had 16K views, making it the most viewed video on my channel. Hell, I bet this video might even be the next most viewed video on my channel. Well, we'll see about that. But I don't really have a lot to say, but I got a lot to show, and this is going to be a pretty long video, and I'll have timestamps for each chapter we go to, like each part of the collection we go to from each row on my shelf. Which, speaking of which, before we start the collection, I'm going to show off my shelf and show you what it looks like now. Alright guys, so here's my shelf of Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays, and it is completely full, and I need to get a new shelf at some point. I actually tried to buy a new shelf at IKEA a little while ago, but they were completely sold out, and I haven't been back there since, but hopefully the next time I go, they'll have a new shelf in stock, so I can buy a new shelf to store more movies and stuff. And there was actually a lot of stuff right here, like VHS tapes and so on, that were on the shelf. But I took them off the shelf before I recorded this video, and I'll put them back. I took them off the shelf so it doesn't look all messy. But anyways, you guys, I don't really have too much else to say, so we're going to make our way all the way up to the top, all the way to the bottom row. So I don't really have anything else to say, so sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and let's get started, shall we? Alright, so we're starting on the very top of my shelf where I keep all my box sets. And we're going to start off with 2001 A Space Odyssey 4K box set. I actually watched this movie for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a classic for a reason. Just going to move that one out of the way. And then next up we got the Before... Oh, this one's backwards. The Before Trilogy box set with... This is the Criterion. With Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. A great trilogy. I think I like the first one the best, though. And then we got the Bourne Trilogy box set that I got about a year ago with the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Supremacy, and the Bourne Ultimatum. I do have the Bourne Legacy and Jason Bourne, but you'll see those two later on in this video. Pretty cool box set. It doesn't have all the other movies, but I do have the other two movies. But you'll see those two later on in this video. And then we got the Die Hard collection with all the Die Hard movies from Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Harder, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Live Free or Die Hard, and A Good Day to Die Hard. The first one's a classic. The sequels are pretty good, and A Good Day to Die Hard was just terrible. I don't know, I hated A Good Day to Die Hard. And then we got the Dark Knight trilogy, of course, with Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Great trilogy. I like to upgrade those to 4K at some point. And then we got Donnie Darko Arrow Video 4K box set, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's such a great movie. And I know there were some issues with this release when it came out. My disc for the theatrical cut had a little bit of issues, but I don't know. It honestly didn't bother me too much. But a very nice box set. And then we got the Human Centipede trilogy, which honestly, I didn't mind the first one. The second one was, oh my god, it was disturbing, but it was okay, and the third one was just terrible. I don't know, I hated the third one. And then we got The Hills Have Eyes Unrated collection with The Hills Have Eyes and The Hills Have Eyes 2, the remakes. And we got the Friday the 13th box set from Scream Factory with all 12 movies from the original all the way down to the 2009 remake. I still haven't watched all those movies yet, but I've seen a few of them. They're fun to watch. And then we got the Indiana Jones 4 movie collection on 4K with all the Indiana Jones movies. They're classic. Well, I've only seen the first one and the third one and the fourth one and never even seen the second one for some reason. I know it's weird, but I will watch them all eventually. I just haven't seen the second one yet, but I've seen the other ones. Yeah, but it's a pretty cool box set. And then we got the James Bond collection with all the James Bond movies from Dr. No to Spectre. I don't have A Good Day to Die Hard yet, but I have seen it, and I thought it was pretty good. Not the best outing, but it was pretty good. And this one's not really a box set, but it's a cool release. This is the Jaws on clamshell VHS Blu-ray from Universal. I bought this one at Best Buy a few years ago. It's a pretty cool release. It's a classic movie. And then we got the Lord of the Rings trilogy on 4K with both versions, the extended cuts and the theatrical cuts of all three movies. Great trilogy. And then we got the Resident Evil 5 movie collection with Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Extinction, Resident Evil Afterlife, and Resident Evil Retribution. I don't have the final chapter, and I haven't seen all the other movies yet, but other than the first one, but I probably will get around to watching them eventually. And then we got The Sopranos, the complete series, one of my all-time favorite shows. I recently finished rewatching it for the second time, not that long ago. And that show never gets old, man. And then we got a pretty rare box set. This is the West Side Story 50th Anniversary Edition. This is the original, of course. Very cool box set. I'm not a big fan of the movie, and I'm also not a big fan of musicals, but that's a pretty cool box set. And then up here, we got some ones I recently picked up. We got the John Cassavetes 5 film collection on Criterion with Shadows, Faces, A Woman Under the Influence, The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, and Opening Night. Haven't seen those ones yet, but I should get around to watching those ones soon. And then we got a very rare box set right there. That is the Midsommar Director's Cut, which is a really rare one. You can only get that on the A24 website, but I got my copy off eBay. Very cool. I haven't actually watched the director's cut, but I have seen the theatrical version. And Midsommar is a great movie. I love that one. And then we got the Three Colors Blue trilogy, which I recently picked up not long ago off eBay, with blue, white, and red. Haven't seen those ones yet. And then we got the World of Wong Kar-wai box set from Criterion with, I can't remember what movies are in there, but there's a lot of movies in there. There's like 7. Haven't seen any of the 7 movies. I should definitely get around to watching those. I had that box set since July, and I still haven't watched those movies yet. But I definitely will get around to watching those movies soon. And then we got... Man, my arms are getting tired already. And we got Django, the Arrow Video release on 4K, which also comes with another movie called Texas Adios, which I haven't seen any of those 2 movies yet, but I probably will watch those ones soon. This one I got at Black Friday. And the last box set for this row, we got the Wanted limited edition collector's set, which I actually picked up the other day. And I actually showed this one in a video I did yesterday. If you haven't checked it out, go check that video out. It's a really cool box set. And a pretty good movie too. Pretty good action movie from the late 2000s. And that's the top row for my shelf. And now onto the first row. Alright guys, now we're on the first row from the numbers all the way down to the letter C. And we're going to start this row off with, it's a little tight. We're starting off, we have 310 to Yuma, the remake from 2007. I've only seen this movie once a couple years ago, and I remember it being pretty good. I haven't seen the original, but I will check it out eventually. I know the original has a Criterion Collection release, and I'm just going to leave it out there so it doesn't get too tight. Next up is 8.5 on Criterion. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear nothing but great things about it. And I should probably get around to watching it sometime soon. Next up is 10 Cloverfield Lane Steelbook, which this was also the first Steelbook I ever bought. And it's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I've only seen it once. I'd like to definitely get around to watching it again sometime soon. I don't have Cloverfield, but I will get that one on Blu-ray at some point. Next up is 21 Grams. Great movie. Really good performances from Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, and Naomi Watts. And I've only seen it once a couple years ago, and I remember it being really great. I'd like to get around to revisiting this one sometime soon. Moving on, next up we have 21 Jump Street. I do have the sequel on DVD, but I do plan to get it on either Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray at some point, and I am aware that this movie right here does have a 4K release. But 21 Jump Street, it's a funny movie. It's just a fun movie to watch with your friends and stuff like that. Next up is 30 Days a Night. A pretty good vampire movie where you got these people trying to survive a vampire attack where it's all, well, it's night for 30 days straight. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed that one. Next up is The 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's a classic. Need I say less? Next up is 300 Digibook, which is one of the only Digibooks I have in my collection. This is Sparta! It's hard to believe that this movie came out 15 years ago. Like, this month actually marked the 15th anniversary when this movie was released back in 2007. But it's a good movie. It's a fun movie to watch. I don't have the sequel, 300 Rise of an Empire, but I'll probably get that one eventually. Next up is 500 Days of Summer. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was pretty good. It's got a pretty interesting premise. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a good job in it. Same with Zoe Deschanel, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. But I enjoyed that one. I thought it was pretty good. Next up is Adaptation. Another movie I've yet to watch. I hear great things about it. I'll definitely get around to watching it soon. Just haven't gotten around to watching it. Next up is Akira. This one I got around Black Friday a while ago, and I still haven't watched it yet, but I know it's considered a classic and one of the greatest anime ever made. And if you've seen my last video that I did last year when I showed my Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray collection, you'll see a lot of anime in this video, because I've been kind of getting into anime lately. And you'll see that later on throughout this video. Next up is Alita Battle Angel. Still haven't watched it yet. I got this one about almost 2 years ago, and I still haven't watched it yet. I know there's some of these ones I've had for a long time and still haven't gotten around to watching yet. But I will definitely get around to watching some of these soon, this one included. Next up is All About My Mother by Pedro Almodovar, and this is a Criterion release. Haven't seen it yet, but I hear great things, and I do like Pedro Almodovar. And I know that this one's regarded as one of his best movies. And yeah, I'll have to sit down and get that one to watch sometime soon. And up here we got All Good Things. Picked this one up a little while ago, and I haven't watched it yet. I should probably get around to watching some of these soon. Next up is Almost Famous Steelbook, the 4K Steelbook. One of my all-time favorite movies. It's a fantastic movie. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's one of my all-time favorite movies. It's just a fantastic movie. Anyways, moving on, we got American Gangster on 4K. Awesome movie. American Hustle on Blu-ray. I've seen it once a couple years ago, and I actually haven't gotten around to rewatching it since. But I will definitely get around to rewatching it sometime soon. It's a really good movie, though. Next up is a classic, American Psycho. I love this movie. I think the memes make this movie even better. I don't care what anybody says, but this movie is just... I don't know, the memes make it even better for some reason. I don't know why, but it's an awesome movie nonetheless. Next up is one of the most messed up movies ever made, Antichrist by Lars von Trier. Pretty messed up movie. It's pretty disturbing, but I actually thought it was pretty good. It's definitely not for everybody. It's pretty disturbing, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. Then we got Antiviral by Brandon Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg. Haven't watched it yet. Next up is Anomalisa. Really enjoyed this one. I did a review of it a while ago on my channel. If you've seen it, you probably know what I thought about it, but a really great movie from Charlie Kaufman. Next up is Apocalypto by Mel Gibson. Pretty good movie. I know it's considered historically inaccurate, but I don't know. I thought this one was pretty good. It's a pretty gory movie, too. Next up is Arrival. Seen this movie once 4 years ago, and I would definitely like to rewatch this one sometime soon. It's a really, really great movie. I really enjoyed it. We'll definitely get around to rewatching this one sometime soon. Moving on, we got Atomic Blonde on 4K. Really underrated action movie. I actually really enjoyed this one. I thought this movie was pretty underrated. I like the visuals and I like the style of it, and I don't know, I thought it was pretty underrated. Next up is Audition. Pretty good Japanese horror thriller movie, and this was also the first Arrow Video Blu-ray I ever bought. Next up is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Pretty good movie. Pretty creepy movie, too. And I thought it was pretty good. Oh, wrong one. Next up, we got Avatar. Good movie. Not a perfect movie. I do remember seeing this movie in theaters back in 2009, and I remember being blown away by it. But nowadays, I just think it's kind of average, but it's still a good movie. I don't think a sequel is really necessary, though. I know they're making sequels to it, but I'm probably not even going to bother with the sequels. Next up is Baby Driver. Awesome movie. Bad Santa. It's hilarious. I don't have the sequel, but I know the sequel isn't very good from what I heard. Next up is Bad Times at the El Royale. I remember seeing this one in theaters back in 2018, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I actually haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater, but I would definitely like to get around to rewatching it sometime soon. And I know it's from the same guy that directed The Cabin in the Woods. I haven't seen that one either, but I want to see that one eventually. Next up, we got another Criterion, and it's Bamboozled by Spike Lee. Really underrated Spike Lee movie. I actually really enjoyed this one. It's a really great satire. And it's one of those satires with a serious message. And I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty underrated. Definitely one of Spike Lee's underrated gems from the 2000s. But I really enjoyed this one. Next up is The Bank Job. I haven't seen it yet. Next up is the 1989 Batman movie. Love this one when I was younger, and I still love it to this day. It's still one of the best Batman movies ever made. I haven't seen that new Batman movie that came out recently, but I hear that one's actually supposed to be really good. Next up is Battle Royale. Have not seen it, but I hear it's great. And then we got Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Great movie. This was Sidney Lumet's last movie. I really enjoyed this one. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman and Albert Finney. Or I think he passed away. I can't remember. I think he did. And then up here we got Beautiful Boy. I picked this one up recently. Haven't seen it yet. Same with Being John Malkovich. Haven't seen it, but a friend of mine really likes this movie, so I'll have to get around to watching that one sometime soon. My arm's already getting tired. Anyways, moving on, we got The Big Lebowski on 4K. It's a classic. Yeah, that's like your opinion, man. Then we got Black Hawk Down. I enjoyed that one. Black Swan. Great movie. Black Snake Moan. I enjoyed Black Snake Moan, actually. That was actually pretty good. Then we got Blade Runner and the amazing sequel, Blade Runner 2049. Both awesome movies. Although I think I like 2049 a little bit better, but Blade Runner, the original, is still an awesome movie. And then we got Blue is the Warmest Color on Criterion, a great movie. I really enjoyed that one. It's a beautiful film. Then we got She Wore Blue Velvet. I don't know why I did that, but I had to do that. Anyways, Blue Velvet, it's a classic. It's a David Lynch. It's classic. I don't know why I sang that. And then we got Brokeback Mountain. I Wish I Knew How to Quit You. Great movie. Rest in peace, Heath Ledger. Definitely one of Heath Ledger's best roles. And the next one is a movie I actually talked about on my channel the other day, and it's Boogie Nights. I actually recently rewatched this movie again, not that long ago. I actually saw it in theaters, and one of the local theaters in my area that was actually showing this movie. And I gotta say, after watching this movie for the second time, I think Boogie Nights is now one of my all-time favorite movies. I really, really enjoyed this one. And I really do like Paul Thomas Anderson. Really great director. It's hard to believe he was actually 26 years old when he directed this movie. He actually knew what he was doing. He did a fantastic job directing this movie. And everyone involved did great in it too. But Boogie Nights, great movie. I also did a review of that one, like I said before. Then we got The Bourne Legacy. This one, it was alright. Not as good as the first three, but it was alright. Then we got Boys in the Hood. Fantastic movie. And up here we got Bruno with Sacha Baron Cohen. It's pretty funny, very raunchy, and yeah, it's Sacha Baron Cohen, and it's like Borat, but it's Bruno. It's hilarious. And then we got Candyman, the original Scream Factory. Pretty good movie. I haven't seen the remake yet or any of the sequels that came out after the original. Maybe I'll check them out eventually. Then we got Capote. Great movie. Great performance from Philip Seymour Hoffman. Then we got Cape Fear, the original. Haven't seen it yet. I'd like to get the remake at some point, sometime as well. Then we got Carlito's Way. Great movie. Casino. Great. Scorsese. Child's Play, the original. Haven't seen it yet. Cinema Paradiso. I think I pronounced that right. Haven't seen it yet. Citizen Kane. Great movie. Clockwork Orange. Fantastic movie. Classic Stanley Kubrick. Closer. I really enjoyed that one. Really good dialogue in that movie. Climax. Recently checked this one out. Very trippy and very bizarre movie, but I really enjoyed that one. Shit. And we got Cold Pursuit. This one was alright. Coming to America, great comedy. Stay away from the sequel, Coming to America, because that movie was terrible. I hated the second one. And then we got Collateral. Haven't seen it yet. And the last one for this row, Cronenberg's Crash on Criterion. A pretty bizarre movie. Definitely not for everybody, but I really enjoyed it. And there is another movie that's pretty similar to this movie I recommend watching as a double feature. Well, we'll get to that one when we get to that movie. So anyways, that's it for row 1. Now onto the second row. Alright, we're now on the second row of my shelf. And I know I was up on the second row for almost 15 minutes. And I'm not going to be as long as I was on the first row or the top row. I'm actually going to try to go through this one pretty quick. So anyways, let's continue off. This row goes from letters C to G. And starting on the second row, we got Crazy Heart. Haven't seen it yet, but I would like to check it out eventually. And then we got The Crazies, the remake. Haven't seen the original, but I have seen the remake, and I actually thought it was pretty good. And we got, next up, we got Dallas Buyers Club. Fantastic movie. And unfortunately, the director of this movie, Jean-Marc Vallée, I think I pronounced that right. Unfortunately, he passed away back in December at the age of 58. May he rest in peace. But Dallas Buyers Club, fantastic movie, and I think this is Matthew McConaughey's best role. He actually won the Academy Award for Best Actor for this movie, and I think it's well-deserved. Fantastic movie, nonetheless. Then we got Dances with Wolves, Steelbook. Great movie. This one actually includes the theatrical version and the extended cut. I have not watched the extended cut, but I've seen the theatrical cut, and I really enjoyed this movie. And I know that this movie was kind of the inspiration for Avatar. Well, Avatar is kind of a similar movie to this, except kind of the same idea of the story, except it's all sci-fi, but I think Dances with Wolves is a better movie in my opinion. Next up is Tim Burton's Dark Shadows, which is based on an old TV show from the 60s, I believe. I've never seen the TV show, but I have seen the movie, and I actually think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty underrated. Although not Tim Burton's best movie, but I still enjoyed it. I think it's pretty funny. And then we got Dead Poet Society, one of my favorite movies. Well, another one of my favorite movies, I should say. I really, really enjoyed this one. And Robin Williams is fantastic in this movie. And yeah. Oh, Captain, My Captain. Yeah, definitely a fantastic movie. And we got Tarantino's Death Proof, which is part of the Grindhouse. I don't have, what was it called? Planet Terror. I don't have that one, but I'll probably get that one someday. But I have seen Death Proof, and I thought it was pretty good. Not my favorite Tarantino, but I do enjoy it. And I do have all the Tarantino movies on Blu-ray. We'll see them more. We'll get to them as we go through this video. Ugh. Next up is Death Wish, the original Steelbook, and a triple feature with Death Wish 2, Death Wish 3, and Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, which Death Wish 5 does not have a Blu-ray release. But I haven't seen either of the Death Wish movies, but I have seen the remake that had Bruce Willis in it, and I actually thought the remake was pretty good, but I'd like to get around to watching the originals at some point. I know that the fifth one doesn't have the Blu-ray release, and I know that the fifth one's considered the worst movie, but whatever. And we got The Deer Hunter on 4K. Watched this one for the first time a little while ago, and I thought it was a fantastic movie. And it looks really great on 4K. Then we got Deliverance. Come on, boy. Squeal! Squeal! Oh my god. I don't know why I had to do that. Yeah, that scene was messed up. But Deliverance, great movie. Rest in peace, Burt Reynolds and Ned Beatty, who passed away back in June. Yeah, rest in peace. Great movie. Really enjoyed that one. I don't know why I did that impersonation of that scene. Ugh. I will never do that again. Anyways, moving on, we got The Descent. Awesome movie. I really enjoyed it. It's a great movie. Really atmospheric, and it's pretty gory. It's pretty crazy, and I really enjoyed it. And we got Despicable Me, the first one. I don't have the other ones. I'm not in a big rush to getting them. I don't know if I'll get all the other ones, but it's a good movie. I think it's really the best one. The second one's pretty good. I didn't like the third one that much. Minions was meh. It was alright. I'm not really looking forward to the new one, though, which I'm probably going to skip out anyways. Then we got The Departed, which is my favorite Scorsese movie. Yeah. The Departed, awesome movie. Still one of the best endings I've seen in a movie. And we got Devil's Backbone by Guillermo del Toro. This is the Criterion release. I enjoyed it. Great Del Toro movie. Then we got The Devil's No, not The Devil's Backbone. The Devil's Rejects, which is the sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses, which I don't have. And I also don't have 3 from Hell, but I'll probably get that one soon. But Devil's Rejects, it's a fun movie to watch. Then we got Django Unchained, my second favorite Tarantino. It's an awesome movie. Then we got Do the Right Thing, another Spike Lee joint on Criterion. Looks really nice on Criterion. And it's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. Oh, and I forgot to show these two. Well, this one actually. We got another David Cronenberg movie, A Dangerous Method. Picked this one up a little while ago. Haven't seen it yet. And up here we also got District 13. Haven't seen it yet. And I know there's a sequel called District 13 Ultimatum. I'll probably get that one if I can find it. And then we got Don John. Once again, I have not seen it yet. I should definitely get around to watching that one sometime soon. Doubt. Haven't seen it yet. I hear it's great though. Then we got Stanley Kubrick's Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb Steelbook. Seen it once a couple years ago. Great movie. Should definitely get around to rewatching that one sometime soon. Then we got the Dragon Tattoo trilogy, which includes the original, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Swedish one, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. I really enjoyed this trilogy, and I do have the remake. Oh, excuse me. I do have the remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but you'll see that in a bit. Then we got Dressed to Kill, pretty good De Palma movie. Looks really nice on Criterion. Drive, awesome movie. Easy Rider, seen it once a couple years ago. Remember being pretty good and kind of weird. Another David Cronenberg movie. This was also the first one I ever watched. Eastern Promises, fantastic movie. I really enjoyed that movie. 8th Grade, really great Bo Burnham directed film. This was his directorial debut, and I really enjoyed it. And the girl in that movie, what was her name? Elise Fisher did really great in this movie as well. I really enjoyed it. Then we got El Mariachi and Desperado double feature. I don't have Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I should probably try to get that one eventually. Haven't seen these two movies yet, but I know El Mariachi is considered a great indie movie, which was Robert Rodriguez's first movie. Enter the Void, another trippy movie from the same director of Climax. I really enjoyed it. It's a pretty long movie, but I really enjoyed it. It's very weird, very trippy, pretty disturbing, and I really enjoyed it. Next up is another David Lynch movie, Eraserhead. Without a doubt, David Lynch's weirdest movie. Weirder than his other movies. Well, I haven't seen every single one of his movies, but Eraserhead, fantastic movie. Very creepy movie. Escape from New York steelbook. Scream Factory. Cool steelbook and a pretty good movie. The Evil Dead, the original. Awesome movie. Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick's last movie, classic, and I really enjoyed that one. It's a very weird movie. I enjoyed that one. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, pretty good movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox, Wes Anderson. I do like Wes Anderson. He's one of my favorite directors. Really great movie. This was also the first Wes Anderson movie I ever watched. Fargo, great movie. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'm sorry. Great movie. The Fault in Our Stars. I enjoyed that one. A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Yeah, I know anyone who's ever showed this one in their collection probably said that line from that movie. Yeah, great movie though. The Fifth Element. Haven't seen it yet. Don't want to break the first two rules of it. Great movie. I actually rewatched that one a little while ago. Rest in peace, Meatloaf. Flight. Haven't seen it yet. Brighteners. Haven't seen it yet. Friday the 13th Steelbook. Again, I have it on the Scream Factory box set. I enjoy that movie. So just a fun one to watch. From Paris with Love. Haven't seen it yet. Full Metal Jacket. Awesome movie. Funny People. Haven't seen it yet. David Fincher's The Game, which was actually the second Criterion I ever bought. Good movie. Kind of stupid around the end. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but it's still a good movie though. Gangs in New York, another Scorsese movie. Awesome movie. Ghost in the Shell, the original Steelbook. This was also, I think this was also a Best Buy exclusive Steelbook. And the live action remake Steelbook with Scarlett Johansson. I've seen the original, haven't seen the remake yet. Although I hear the remake's okay. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the American remake. Really enjoyed it. It's pretty disturbing, much like the original film. Especially that one scene in the movie. Well, I'm not going to talk about that. But great movie though, nonetheless. Gladiator. I've only seen bits and pieces of it. Should definitely get around to watching the rest of it. I hear rumors that this movie might actually be getting a sequel. Why? I don't think a sequel is necessary. Glass. I didn't really like this movie that much. I don't know. I just was not a big fan of it. Gone with the Wind. Long movie, but I thought it was pretty good for what it was. Well, this one's backwards. Gone Girl. Great movie. Probably my second favorite David Fincher movie next to Seven. And then we got The Godfather Coppola restoration with Godfather, Godfather Part 2, and Godfather Part 3. Part 2 is my favorite. The first one's still a classic. And Part 3 I actually don't think is that bad. I know there's a recut version of Part 3 called The Death of Michael Corleone. I have not seen it yet. I'll probably check it out eventually. So anyways, that's it for the second row. And now onto the third row. Alright guys, we are now on the third row, which is from letters G to M. And starting on the third row, we got another copy of The Godfather, which is actually the Steelbook for The Godfather Part 2. I love this movie, and I just had to buy it for the Steelbook. It's a really cool Steelbook. I like to find the Steelbook for the first and third movie at some point. Good Morning Vietnam! Have not seen it yet, but I know the quote from that movie. We'll definitely get around to watching this one sometime soon. I'm actually gonna take out Godfather Part 2. It's a little tight here, so I'm just gonna take that out. Then we got Goodfellas on 4K. Looks really great on 4K. Awesome movie. I actually rewatched this one a little while ago. It's an awesome movie. Good Time. Watched this one for the first time a little while ago, and I actually thought it was pretty good, but I think Uncut Gems was a better movie, but I still enjoyed Good Time. This is actually from the same directors of Uncut Gems. The Goonies, one of my favorite movies. It's a classic. Hey, you guys! I don't know why I did that. Next up is another Wes Anderson on Criterion, The Grand Budapest Hotel. I'm probably going to get shit for saying this, but I think The Grand Budapest Hotel is a little bit overrated. But don't get me wrong, it's a good movie, but it's not my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I just think it's a little bit overrated, but that's not to say I hate it, but I still enjoyed it for what it was, but it's not my favorite Wes Anderson movie. Hacksaw Ridge, great war movie from Mel Gibson. The Hangover Part 2, I don't have Hangover 1 or 3. I have seen the first and second one, haven't seen the third one, but I heard the third one isn't very good. The first two are funny, but I think the first one's the best. Halloween, the original. This is the Lionsgate Blu-ray release. I'd like to get the Scream Factory release at some point. Yeah, it's a classic, one of my favorite movies, and one of the greatest slasher movies ever made, period. Hardcore Henry, have not seen it yet, but it does look like a pretty good movie. Next up is another Tarantino, The Hateful Eight. I really enjoyed this one. It's a pretty long movie. It's a very slow movie, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. Great performances. Heat, picked this one up a little while ago. Haven't seen it yet. It's a pretty long movie. It's almost 3 hours at 170 minutes, so that's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. I should definitely get around to watching that one sometime soon. Heavy Metal, got this one on my birthday back in 2021. Well, I guess you could say almost a year ago. Haven't seen it yet, but it does look pretty good. I know there's a sequel called Heavy Metal 2000, I believe. I don't know if that has a Blu-ray release, though. Her, really enjoyed this movie. It's one of my favorites. It's from the same director of Being John Malkovich, Spike Jonze. Hereditary, awesome movie. I really enjoyed that one. From the same director of Midsommar. Hell or High Water. I've seen this movie once a couple years ago. Would like to get around to rewatching this one sometime soon. I remember this one being pretty good. Home Alone, classic. I don't have Home Alone 2, but I'll probably get that one eventually. The Hot Spot, haven't seen it yet. High Tension, awesome slasher movie. I really enjoyed this one. I don't care what anybody says about the ending. I enjoyed it nonetheless. Hitch, pretty solid movie. Good performance from Will Smith in that movie. Hotel Rwanda, haven't seen it yet. Hugo, Martin Scorsese, believe it or not. Actually still haven't watched it yet. I should definitely get around to watching that one soon. The Hurt Locker, I enjoyed that one. It's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed that one. Hustle and Flow, really underrated movie. I actually thought this one was pretty good. It's pretty underrated. It's from the same director of Black Snake Moan that I showed earlier. Indian Horse, very dark and pretty sad movie about a young indigenous boy in the residential school who becomes a hockey player. Very dark movie considering the subject matter, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. I've never read the book that it was based on, though. I would probably like to read the book to it someday. Next up is another Paul Thomas Anderson movie, Inherent Vice. Have not seen it yet. Actually, I have seen it a little while ago and actually thought it was pretty good. I know some people didn't like it, but I actually thought it was pretty good. Moving on, we got The Incredibles 2. Not as good as the first one, but I actually thought it was pretty good. But the first one was better, though. Inglourious Basterds, another Tarantino. This was also the first Tarantino movie I ever watched. Awesome movie. This is my third favorite Tarantino movie. I also have a poster for it over there. I'll show it at the end of this video. And moving on, we got Into the Wild. Really great movie. It's a pretty sad movie considering it was based on a true story. And unfortunately, William Hurt passed away about a week ago. Rest in peace. But Into the Wild, great movie. Interview with the Vampire, haven't seen it yet. The Irishman, Criterion, Martin Scorsese, great movie. This is my favorite movie from 2019, by the way. Isle of Dogs, another Wes Anderson movie. Haven't actually seen it yet, but I hear it's pretty good. Here's another Tarantino movie, Jackie Brown. I enjoyed this one. Rest in peace, Robert Forster, who passed away in 2019. And then we got John Wick Chapter 2 and John Wick Chapter 3. I've only seen the first one. I have not gotten around to watching 2 or 3 yet. I don't know. I should really get around to watching those 2 movies yet. But the first John Wick movie is an awesome movie. I actually wasn't expecting that movie to be any good, but I was actually very surprised by it. I should definitely get around to watching 2 and 3 eventually. Moving on, we got Jojo Rabbit. Good movie. I didn't necessarily loved it, unlike a lot of people, but I still thought it was pretty good. It was pretty funny too. Joker. Haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater in 2019, but I thought it was pretty good from what I remember. The Kids Are Alright. Haven't seen it yet. Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. Both good movies. Not my favorite Tarantino movies, though, but they were still pretty good. The Killing of a Sacred Deer. A pretty weird movie, but I really, really enjoyed it. I guess I should have said this at the beginning of this video. To anyone who's new to the channel, I love these kind of movies that are weird and bizarre, like Crash, Eyes Wide Shut, Eraserhead, Donnie Darko, and so on. And yeah, this is a pretty strange movie, but I really, really enjoyed it. Knives Out. Surprisingly, a great movie. I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I did. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, I should have said. But yeah. Lady Bird. Haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's great things about it. Law Abiding Citizen Steelbook. Pretty cool looking steelbook. Haven't actually seen that movie yet. Lawless. Another one I haven't seen yet. And up here we got The Last Duel on 4K. Got this one for Christmas. I still haven't watched it yet, but I think this movie was considered the biggest box office flop from last year. It's a Ridley Scott movie. Haven't seen it yet. I should probably get around to watching that one soon. Another one I've yet to watch is Leviathan, which is I think this is a Russian film. Yeah, it is. Haven't seen it yet, but it looks pretty great. I know YMS talked about this in his top 10 movies of 2014 list. And yeah, I should definitely get around to watching this one soon. This one looks really interesting. Anyway. Oh, I forgot one to show when we got to the J's. Here's Jason Bourne and I'm not really sure what you call this kind of release, but it's kind of cool looking. This one was alright too. I like the first three the best. But that one was okay. Anyways, we got the Lego Movie and the sequel, the Lego Movie 2. The Lego Movie 1 is a good movie. I enjoyed that one. The second one was, it was okay. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was alright. The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, another Wes Anderson. Really underrated Wes Anderson. I think it's one of Wes Anderson's best movies. I don't care what anyone says, but I really enjoyed that one. The Lobster. Haven't seen it yet, but I know it's from the same director of The Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's supposed to be pretty weird from what I hear. I should definitely get around to watching that one soon. Lost Highway. Another David Lynch movie. Awesome movie. I heard rumors that this was going to be getting a 4K release by Criterion. But who knows? It might get a release. And I also hear that Inland Empire might get a release one day from Criterion. That would be sweet. Anyways, Logan. I enjoyed that one. Lords of Dogtown. Haven't seen it yet. The Missionist. That's a pretty strange movie. And up here we got another Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Magnolia. Haven't seen it, but I hear nothing but great things about it. So I should definitely get around to watching that one soon. Mallrats. Arrow Video release. Haven't seen it yet. Man on Fire, pretty good movie. Pretty underrated movie too. The Manchurian Candidate Criterion. This is the original. This was also the first Criterion I ever bought. I enjoyed that movie. And then we got the Man with No Name trilogy with A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Haven't seen any of the three movies, but I know that The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is considered one of, if not the greatest Western movie ever made. And I should definitely get around to watching those movies sometime soon. Next up is Manchester by the Sea. Haven't seen it, but I know it's considered a pretty depressing movie. And the last one for this row, The Mask of Zorro. I enjoyed this movie when I was a kid, and I still enjoy it to this day. I think it's pretty underrated. And that's it for row 3. And now on to row 4. Alright, so now we're on row 4 from letters M to S. And we're going to start up here. We got Mother, which I picked up recently. Haven't seen it yet, but I know it's considered a pretty strange movie. And we got Pig, which I actually watched a while ago, back in January. And I actually really enjoyed this one. One of Nicolas Cage's better movies, I'd say. And I'm just gonna sit down here. And we're going to continue off. We got Memento, which I actually watched for the first time a couple weeks ago. And oh shit, I didn't mean to hit the phone there. Watched it for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's definitely one of Christopher Nolan's best movies. I was blown away by this movie. And we're going to keep Memento out, because it gets pretty tight. We got Men of Honor, haven't seen it yet. Menace to Society, Director's Cut, again, haven't seen it yet, but I know this one got a Criterion release a little while ago. I will definitely get the Criterion release of this movie eventually and get rid of this copy. Midnight Cowboy, a one I would love to upgrade to Criterion. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm walking here, I ain't for real a cowboy, but I'm one hell of a stud. But Midnight Cowboy, great movie. I really enjoyed that one. Here's Midsommar again, but this is the theatrical copy. I already showed my director's cut copy at the beginning of this video, but here's my theatrical my copy of the theatrical version. I really, really enjoyed it. I would definitely like to get around to watching the director's cut version eventually. Minari, which is next up. Really, really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a pretty great movie. This one almost won Best Picture, but it lost to Nomadland, which, I'll be honest with you, I think this one probably should have won Best Picture over Nomadland. I don't care what anybody says, but I honestly didn't think Nomadland was that great either. I didn't hate it, but I don't know. I thought that movie was kind of boring. Next up is Minority Report Steelbook. I've only seen half of this movie, but I never finished it for some reason. I should definitely go back to finish this movie. But from what I've seen, I remember it being a pretty good movie from Spielberg. It's a pretty interesting movie, too. Next up is Misery, the Scream Factory release. You murdered my misery! Awesome movie. Definitely one of the best Stephen King adaptations ever made. Next up is Mo Better Blues. This is the Kino Lorber release. Pretty good Spike Lee joint, and another pretty underrated one. I think this was the first Spike Lee joint with Denzel Washington in it. They also did Malcolm X. What was another one? He Got Game, and Inside Man, which I have on DVD and watched for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I really enjoyed. Moonlight, good movie. I enjoyed that one. Moonrise Kingdom. Actually, I take that back. This was actually the second Criterion I ever bought. The Game was the third Criterion I ever bought. My mistake. But yeah, Moonrise Kingdom, one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies. I think this one might be my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I don't know, though. I really enjoyed that movie, though. Mulholland Drive, another David Lynch movie. One of the most confusing movies ever made, but one of the greatest movies ever made. I really, really enjoyed this one. Watched it for the first time over the summer. I would definitely like to give this one a second watch sometime soon. It's a fantastic movie, though. Very weird movie, too. Naked Lunch, David Cronenberg. By David Cronenberg. Very, very bizarre movie. It's another bizarre one from David Cronenberg, which David Cronenberg is another one of my favorite directors, which I forgot to say earlier in this video. But Naked Lunch, very, very weird movie, but I really enjoyed that one. Next up is The Nightcrawler Mondo Best Buy exclusive steelbook. I've seen this movie once a couple years ago. I haven't seen it ever since, but I remember really enjoying this movie. Definitely one of Jake Gyllenhaal's best roles. No Country for Old Men. What's the most you've ever lost in a coin toss? Really enjoyed this one. It's a fantastic movie. Nobody. One of my favorite movies from last year. I had fun watching this one. Next up is M. Night Shyamalan's Old. Yeah, this movie is pretty bad, but I don't know. It's hilarious and entertaining at the same time. It's definitely one of those movies. It's so bad, it's good. It's probably best watched with some friends and some drinks. But it's a bad movie, but I don't know. I just had fun watching it. I found it to be hilarious, but yeah. Not as bad as The Last Airbender or The Happening. I think those two movies are worse than this. But yeah. That's enough said about that one. On the Rocks, Sofia Coppola. Haven't seen it. This was Sofia Coppola's more recent movie. Haven't seen it yet. Next up is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Haven't seen it, but I hear great things about it. 1 Hour Photo, one of Robin Williams' more serious and probably his darkest role he was in. I really like this movie. It's very creepy. His character is very creepy. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of my favorite movies from 2019. Had a fun time seeing this one in the theater. And I actually watched it again over the summer, and it's still an awesome movie. Paprika. Haven't seen it, but I hear it's pretty strange. I know my friend really likes this movie, and I'll have to give this one a watch sometime soon. Then we got Paranormal Activity and Paranormal Activity 2. The only two movies I own. I'm not in a big rush to getting the sequels, though. The first one is really the only one worth the watch. The second one was not bad. I haven't seen the other movies, though. Parasite. I would like to get the Criterion release of this movie. I've only seen it once when I saw it in the theater back in 2019. But I really enjoyed it. This was also the Best Picture winner at the 2020 Oscars. But I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater, but I will definitely get around to watching it again soon. Next is Paris, Texas. I actually just watched this movie the other night for the first time, and holy shit, this movie was amazing. I really liked it. It may not be a movie for everyone, but I loved it. I loved every minute of this movie. I will definitely try to do a review of it eventually. Next up is Perfect Blue from the same director of Paprika. Watched this one for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. I think this movie was one of the inspirations for Black Swan, I believe. I don't know, but it kind of reminds me of that movie a little bit. But really great movie, pretty weird, pretty disturbing, and very good. Next up is The Phantom Thread, another Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I liked it, but not my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, but I still thought it was pretty good. Next up is Phone Booth, a pretty good thriller. Next up is The Piano, the 4K Criterion. This is the only 4K Criterion that I have. The Piano is a fantastic movie. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's just a beautifully made film, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, it's a fantastic movie. And then we got The Piano Teacher, which I really enjoyed. It's another fantastic movie. Next is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I was not a big fan of this movie. I thought this movie was okay, but I don't know. I just wasn't really a big fan of it. Next is Possessor by Brandon Cronenberg. I remember seeing this one in the theater, and I remember it being a pretty good movie. It's pretty gory. It's a Canadian film, actually. This movie was actually filmed in Toronto. And I forgot to mention that Crash, David Cronenberg's Crash, was actually filmed in Toronto. I forgot to mention that earlier in the video. But Possessor, a pretty good movie. I would like to sit down and give this movie a watch again sometime, eventually. I think I probably said that 100 times by now. I don't know. Then we got Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Criterion, a great movie. You kind of need to be in the right mood to watch it, but I really enjoyed that movie. Then we got The Prestige, really great Christopher Nolan movie. I really enjoyed that one. Then we got Primal Fear, haven't seen it yet. Princess Mononoke, haven't seen Mononoke, I believe that's how you say it. No, Mononoke, there you go, that's how you say it. Haven't seen it yet. Private Parts, haven't seen it yet. Promising Young Woman, I was pretty disappointed with this movie. I was not really a big fan of it, but it was alright. But I don't know, I just was not a big fan of it. I was pretty disappointed with this movie. Psycho, the original Steelbook, 4K Steelbook by the way, classic. Punch Drunk Love, my second favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. And in my opinion, Adam Sandler's best role. This movie is fantastic. Pulp Fiction, my favorite Tarantino. It's a classic. And we got, hold on a sec, let me just move these two out of the way. We got A Quiet Place Steelbook, Blu-ray Steelbook, and A Quiet Place Part 2 4K Steelbook. Both great movies. Both of those movies were great theater watching experiences. And up here, we got Roma, the Criterion release. I've seen half of this movie, but I never finished it for some reason. I watched it once a couple years ago, but I never finished it. This time, I'm going to try to watch it again in its entirety. But from what I've seen, I think this movie is fantastic. It's from the same director of You to Mama Tambien, which you will see around the end of this video. Anyways, moving on, we got Rabid, one of David Cronenberg's first movies, back when he used to direct horror. Watched this one the other night, and I thought it was pretty good. I know there's a remake. I might check it out eventually. Ralph Breaks the Internet, the sequel to Wreck-It Ralph. Not as good as Wreck-It Ralph, but it's alright. Ready Player One. Not my favorite Spielberg movie, but I thought it was pretty good. The Reader, haven't seen it yet. Reservoir Dogs, classic. Richard Jewell, haven't seen it yet. The Royal Tenenbaums, a Wes Anderson movie, and believe it or not, haven't seen it yet, but I know this one's considered one of, if not Wes Anderson's best movie, but I will definitely get around to watching this one soon. The Ruins, this one was alright. Rush, haven't seen it yet. Rushmore, yet another Wes Anderson movie I have not watched yet. And Rush, I haven't seen yet. Saving Private Ryan, classic. Saint Maud, haven't seen it yet. And the last one for this row, Sallow, or the 120 Days of Sodom. I'm sorry. Yeah, pretty messed up movie. It's pretty nasty. But it was alright, but man, this movie was gross. And that's it for the fourth row. And now onto the fifth row. Alright guys, we are now on the fifth row, and we got one more row to go after this row, and this row goes from letters S to U, and we're going to start here. We got Saw, Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 6, and up here I got Saw, the final chapter. I don't have Jigsaw or Spiral, the Book of Saw, but I will get those two eventually. The first Saw movie is a classic, and the story of how this movie was being made is really interesting. I would recommend everyone looking up the story of how this movie was made. It's pretty interesting, actually. Saw 2 is probably my favorite sequel in the series, but I think the first one's still the best. Saw 3 was pretty good, and I think this one should have been the last movie in the series, but I still enjoyed that one. Saw 4, interesting traps, but it should have ended after Saw 3. And I have not watched Saw 5, 6, or the final chapter yet, and I also haven't seen Jigsaw or Spiral, but I will check those ones out soon. Next up, we got another one of my favorite movies, Scarface. Say hello to my little friend. Yeah, classic. And we got Scream 2. I do have Scream 1, but it's just on DVD. And I don't have Scream 3, 4, and 5, which I don't think 5 is out yet. But I do have the first one on DVD. Haven't seen the first one or the second one or the other movies. I will definitely get around to watching all the Scream movies eventually. Next up is Schindler's List, a depressing masterpiece from Steven Spielberg. It's just a phenomenal movie. Very depressing movie, but it's a fantastic movie. Next up is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World Steelbook. I think this was the second Steelbook I ever bought. I like the art style to this one, actually. It looks pretty cool. And pretty good movie. Oh, this one's a little tight. I think I'm just going to leave this one out. Next up is Secretary. Very underrated. I really enjoyed this one. James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal are both great in this movie. And I think this movie's really underrated. Definitely a much better movie than the 50 Shades of Grey movies or 365 Days, which I'd say 365 Days is worse than 50 Shades of Grey. Oh my god, that movie had the worst soundtrack I've ever heard in a movie. It was a piece of shit movie, though. And we got Seven, my favorite David Fincher movie. I also have this one on VHS. It's an awesome movie. 7 Pounds, haven't seen it yet. The Shape of Water. Surprisingly, the Best Picture winner of the 2018 Oscars. I kind of wasn't expecting it to win the Best Picture award, but it did. And I really enjoyed this one. Good movie from Guillermo del Toro. Speaking of Guillermo del Toro, that new movie he did, Nightmare Alley, I saw that one a while ago, and I thought that one was pretty good too. The Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest movies ever made, and probably my favorite movie of all time. Shaun of the Dead, awesome movie. Shame, really sad movie, but it's a really, really great movie. Definitely not for everybody, but it's a fantastic movie. Michael Fassbender and Carey Mulligan are both fantastic in this movie. Shortcuts, great movie. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I know that this movie was, I think this was the inspiration for Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. I haven't seen that one yet, like I said before in the video, but I really enjoyed Shortcuts. Shivers, David Cronenberg's first movie. Pretty good zombie movie. Well, kind of a zombie movie. Shutter Island, another Martin Scorsese movie I haven't watched yet, but I hear great things about it. I think it's kind of one of those movies that you gotta watch twice to understand it, so I'm probably gonna love it. And then we got Sin City, and the sequel, and kind of a prequel, Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. Both Sin City movies are great, but the second one isn't quite as good as the first one, but I still enjoyed the second one for what it was, but I think the first one was the best. Silver Linings Playbook, great movie. 16 Candles, Arrow video release, haven't seen it yet. The Sixth Sense, I See Dead People, classic. And maybe that was M. Night Shyamalan's first movie, and definitely one of his best movies. Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, haven't seen it yet. Sleepy Hollow, haven't seen it yet. Slumdog Millionaire, haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's great. Snowden, pretty good Oliver Stone movie. Southland Tales, from the same director of Donnie Darko. I know this one also has an Arrow video release. I'll probably get the Arrow video release of this at some point. I actually thought this movie was pretty good. A lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was pretty good. Stalker, haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's great. This is a Criterion release, by the way. The 2018 remake of A Star Is Born. Not really into musicals, but I actually thought this movie was really good. Great directorial debut from Bradley Cooper, who also starred in it, and great performance from Lady Gaga in that movie. Not really a big fan of Lady Gaga, though, as a singer. I don't know, but yeah. Next up, Stranger Than Fiction. I really enjoyed that one. Stray Outta Compton, I enjoyed that one. Suicide Squad, it was alright. It's definitely not the worst movie I've seen, but it was alright. Summer Lovers, haven't seen it yet. Super 8, pretty good movie. I actually enjoyed this one. I recommend it if you're a fan of Stranger Things. This movie actually kind of reminds me a bit of Stranger Things a little bit, but I enjoyed that one. Superbad, classic. McLovin? What kind of stupid name is that, Vogel? What are you trying to be, an Irish R&B singer? That line never gets old. The McLovin part. Super Troopers, great comedy. I didn't like the second one that much, which is why I don't have the second one, but the first one was good. I didn't like the second one, though. Suspiria, the remake. Haven't seen the original or the remake, but I will get the original at some point. But I haven't seen this movie yet. Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Probably my favorite Tim Burton movie. I don't know. I really enjoyed that movie, though. Taken, the best one in the series. And the unnecessary sequel, Taken 2. It was alright. I don't have Taken 3, though. Not in a big rush to getting it, though. And up here, we got T-Tane, which is probably my favorite or second favorite movie from last year. I know the slipcover's in bad shape because Amazon kind of did a shitty job sending it to me when I pre-ordered it, but whatever, it's no big deal. But you remember earlier in this video, I said I would recommend a certain movie with Cronenberg's Crash as a double feature. Well, this is that movie. This movie is very bizarre, and ironically, when I saw this movie in the theater, I rewatched Cronenberg's Crash on the same day. But yeah, they're kind of similar, and I can definitely see what's kind of influential to how Crash influenced this movie a little bit. But I love this movie. I really, really enjoyed that one. Next up is Taxi Driver, You Talking to Me. This is a steelbook. Really cool steelbook. And an awesome movie. Next up is Team America, World Police. Awesome movie. That's a movie that probably would never be made today. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre steelbook. This is the original. Awesome movie. Tenet. Not Christopher Nolan's best, but I still really enjoyed this movie. The Thing, the original on 4K. This movie looks amazing on 4K. Watched it for the first time on Halloween 2021, and I really enjoyed it. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, another Pedro Almodovar. I watched this one a couple of weeks ago, and I actually thought it was pretty good. It was pretty funny, too. Titanic. Believe it or not, I have never watched this movie, but I definitely will get around to watching this movie very soon. Next up, To Die For. Pretty underrated Gus Van Sant movie. Very good performance from Nicole Kidman in that movie. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was pretty underrated. And the real story that inspired this movie is actually pretty interesting. If you know the story that happened in real life that inspired this movie, you know what I'm talking about. Next up is Top Gun. Pretty good movie. The sequel, Top Gun Maverick, is finally coming out this year. Hopefully there won't be any more delays, but I don't expect there won't be any more delays to it. Next up, Toy Story 3. I don't have Toy Story 1, 2, or 4, but I have this one. I enjoyed the first two Toy Story movies, but I don't know why, but I think Toy Story 3 is my favorite. I haven't seen Toy Story 4 yet, though, but I'll probably check that one out someday. Next up is True Grit, the remake, Steelbook. Haven't seen it yet, and I also have the original on VHS, the original movie with John Wayne. Haven't seen it, though. Next up, another one of my favorite movies, True Romance. This movie is awesome. I also have it on VHS. It's just an awesome movie. But, yeah, awesome movie. Tropic Thunder, another movie that would never be made today. This movie is hilarious. This one never gets old. Tully, good movie. And we got, the next one is the Tuskegee Airmen Digibook. Haven't seen it yet. And the last one, well, we actually got two more to show. We got Underworld, and up here we got Underworld Evolution. Haven't seen those two movies yet, and I don't have the other Underworld movies, but I'll get those ones soon. And the last one for this row, Under the Skin. Picked it up recently. Haven't seen it yet, but it does look like an interesting movie. Alright, guys, so that's it for row 5. And now, on to the last row. Alright, guys, we're finally on the last row. We are on the 6th row. And this goes from letters U all the way down to my TV shows. So, let's finish this off on the last row. Starting up, we got The Untouchables. Haven't seen it yet. Picked this one up a while ago, but I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. But it does look pretty good. And then we got Up, one of my favorite Disney movies. Probably my favorite Disney movie along with WALL-E. But this movie is fantastic. It's definitely one of the best Disney movies ever made. Next is V for Vendetta on 4K. Haven't watched this movie in 4K yet, but I have seen this movie before a couple years ago, and it's a great adaptation to the comic books. And I have read the comic book that this movie was based on, and the comic book is fantastic. Next up is probably my favorite Cronenberg movie, along with Crash, Videodrome. This movie is a classic. It's definitely one of Cronenberg's best movies. Long live the new flesh. The Virgin Suicides is the next one. This is the Criterion release. Looks very nice on Blu-ray. And this was Sofia Coppola's directorial debut, and I really enjoyed this movie. And great movie, and a great book, too. I have read the book that this movie was based on. The book is great, too. Next is War of the Worlds, the original, not the remake from Spielberg. Very good science fiction movie for the time. It looks pretty great. It actually looked really great back when this movie came out back in 1953. But great science fiction movie. Waltz with Bashir, a fantastic animated movie for adults. I highly recommend this one if you haven't seen it. It's a fantastic movie. Next is Watchmen, the director's cut. I don't have the Ultimate Edition of Watchmen on 4K. I'd like to find that one eventually. But Watchmen is a good movie. I enjoyed that one. And I really enjoyed the comic book that it was based on, too. Warrior, haven't seen it yet. Whiplash, watched this one for the first time, 2 months ago, and I really enjoyed it. Fantastic performances from J.K. Simmons, however you say his name, and Miles Teller. Great movie. Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, another Pedro Almodovar movie. Another fantastic movie. This movie's hilarious, and it's a really good dark comedy from the late 80s. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Haven't seen it yet, but I hear great things about it. Wild at Heart. David Lynch's Wild at Heart. A great movie, very good performance from Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern, and probably one of the bloodiest opening scenes I've seen in a movie. Well, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The Witch from Roger Eggers. I enjoyed this one. This is the Steelbook, by the way. I can't wait for his new movie, The Northman. That one looks really good. Next up is The Wolf of Wall Street. I think this was the first Scorsese movie I ever watched, or was it Goodfellas or The Departed? I can't remember, but this was one of the first Scorsese movies I ever watched. Awesome movie. I really enjoyed that one. Then we got You to Mama Temian. A fantastic movie. I really, really enjoyed that one. I should probably do a review of that movie someday. You Were Never Really There. You Were Never Really Here. I'm sorry. Haven't seen it, but it does look pretty good. Zodiac, the director's cut. I have seen the movie before, but I've not watched the director's cut version. Zodiac's a great movie, though. Another really great David Fincher movie. Zoolander Steelbook. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to life than being really, really ridiculously good looking. Zoolander, it's a funny movie. I enjoyed it. I did not like the sequel, though. The sequel was terrible. And the last one for the movies before we get on to the TV shows is Zombieland. Have not seen it yet. And I will get the sequel eventually. And starting up for the TV shows, we got Attack on Titan Season 1, Part 1. Season 1, Part 2. And up here we got Season 2. And Season 3, which I'm actually currently on the 3rd season. Attack on Titan is a fantastic show. I really, really like this show. My friend got me into it. And hell, why didn't I watch this show years ago? This show is awesome, man. I really, really do like Attack on Titan. I'm actually now on the second half of Season 3. And I know the show, I think it just ended recently. I'm not sure, though. But I know that the show is currently on its 4th and final season. But, yeah, I will get the Season 4, like both well, the first half is already out. I will get that one soon, and I'll have to wait for the second half to come out. But anyways, moving on, we got Better Call Saul Season 4 and Season 5. I have Seasons 1, 2, and 3 on DVD, but I do plan to upgrade those to Blu-ray at some point. But Better Call Saul is a great spinoff to Breaking Bad and also the prequel to Breaking Bad. I really enjoyed it. And I know that Season 6, which is the final season, is coming out pretty soon on April 18th. I can't wait to see how it ends. Next up, we got Boardwalk Empire, the complete first season, the complete second season. This one's backwards. The complete third season, the 4th season, and the 5th season. Boardwalk Empire, really great HBO show. Very good show with Steve Buscemi in it. I really enjoyed it. Then we got Chernobyl miniseries on 4K. This is a steelbook. Excuse me. I actually really like the artwork on this steelbook. It looks really nice. Really great miniseries too. And we got The Deuce, the first season, and the second season. For whatever reason, the 3rd season never got released on Blu-ray. Only the 1st and 2nd season. I don't know why that is, but whatever. But The Deuce is a really underrated show from HBO. It's from the same creators of The Wire, which I think The Wire was a better show, but The Deuce was still pretty good. And then we got Season 6 of Lost. Here's a little story about this one. I was watching this show for the first time on Amazon Prime Video, and I was starting the 6th season, and then out of nowhere, it got taken off Prime Video, and I had to buy this season in order to finish the series. So yeah, I don't have Seasons 1 through 5 yet, but I will get those soon. But Lost is a great show. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a great show. Sure, it kind of got weird in later seasons, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless, and I really enjoyed the series. I will get the first 5 seasons eventually. And then we got a complete series right here. We got Mad Men Season 1, Mad Men Season 2, Season 3, Season 4 with a lenticular slipcover, Season 5 without a slipcover, but that's okay. Season 6... the final season part 1 and the final season part 2. Mad Men's a great show. I really enjoyed that series. I thought it was a fantastic show. And then we got the Pacific miniseries. This is the 10 release, which looks really cool. I enjoyed it, but I think Band of Brothers was better. A better war miniseries on HBO than the Pacific, but I still enjoyed the Pacific. And then we got Tosh.0 Volume 1 hoodies. This show is hilarious. I do enjoy Tosh.0. And then we got South Park Seasons 1 through 5. It's South Park. It's hilarious. I don't watch it all the time, but I watch it sometimes. And then we got Westworld Season 1 on Blu-ray. I know it's a little dusty. Some of these I haven't watched in a while. I should dust these. And then we got Westworld Season 2 on Blu-ray and Season 3 on 4K. Westworld is a good show, but I think the first season is the best. And I know that Season 4 is coming out. I'm not sure when. I think it might be coming out this year, I believe. I am not sure, though. And yeah, guys, so that's my Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray collection. Now, before I end this video, I'm going to show you guys something else. Alright, guys, so before I end this video, I'm showing you guys this Inglourious Basterds poster right here. Sorry for the glare. I picked this one up at an antique store about almost a year ago, and I just still haven't gotten around to hanging it up yet. But yeah, here's the poster. So there you have it. That's my Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray collection for 2022. And holy shit, this video was long. This video was longer than the one I made last year. And yep, so that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more videos like this. And feel free to check out last year's video on my Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray collection that I did last year. The link is in the description down below. And also feel free to follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd. The links are in the description down below. And yeah, guys, so that's going to be it for this video. And I'm probably going to do an updated look at my DVD collection sometime soon. But anyways, thanks again for watching this video. Hope you guys have a great day. And until next time, this is Keaton Shepard signing off. Thanks for watching. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.